How's it going, Kurt?
Yeah, things going good.
That's good, that's good. I'm Apollos. This is True to Life TV. Here to get into a little introductory life story of Kurt Hurd, from his early development all the way to him going into the military, and also, from the knowledge and experience that he has gained along the way. So let's get right to it. So where'd you grow up at? Did you grow up here in Louisville, Kentucky?
Well, a lot of people, I grew up here,
Okay.
but then I moved to California, back to Louisville. Then once I kind of grew up a little bit, went to Manual, went to Aaron's, came back, went to Manual High School. Then from there I went, once I graduated in the 11th grade, then I decided what I wanted to do. I was going to a vocational school afterwards when I got through. Then I decided, no, this is not for me, because I was going to become a welder.
Okay.
And then I said, no, this is not the job that I really wanted. I was undecided. Then I decided to go in the military.
Okay.
And people said, why did you decide to go in the military? At that particular time, as a person, that it was really nothing out here.
I can understand that.
It was jobs out here, but they wanted 10 and 15 years experience. And when you first coming out of high school, no matter what type of job that you have, because I went to vocational school and I took up auto body and different other stuff while I was in there.
That's what's up.
And then, you can't come out here, go to like Star Ford or something like that. They want to know how many years that you've been in this type of business, that you've been, type of job you've been doing for a while.
What type of experience you have?
Experience.
Okay.
And, you coming out of high school, you got experience, but people looking at, 5, 10, 15 years experience.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't have 15 years experience when they first come out of high school.
So you went to the military, and what would you say, how was your experience in the military? From your entry level point, how was the training, and how dangerous would you say the military was?
Well, the basic training.
At that time.
At basic training, when you first go, you go to the downtown, you sign up. Once you sign up and stuff like that, they give you a date that you have to report. Then once you report, then you have like wherever they tell you to be located at, then a bus comes and pick you up. And once the bus comes and pick you up, then it takes you to the airport. Whichever place that you're going, like Fort Lee, Fort Jackson, or wherever you might be going for basic training.
Okay.
A lot of these militaries that people don't know is closed down.
Oh.
A lot of facilities have closed down.
That makes sense. And so you went to the military. Would you say that was one of the best decisions that you have made in life?
As a young man, first I said no.
Okay.
No, it wasn't the first choice.
Okay.
But just decided to go in there.
What was your MOS?
When I first went in there, I was a heavy weapons specialist. I worked in food service for a while to see what it was like. Then I went into food service. I went in the type of like a dietitian.
Okay, I see. And what did you? So I know you got a little bit of university schooling while you was in the military. And what did you get your degree in?
Oh, chemical nuclear warfare.
Chemical nuclear warfare. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's pretty cool. And so keep in mind, this was in the 80s. Am I correct? When you first
Yes.
got implemented into the military?
Yes.
So this was in the 80s, and you stayed in the military all the way up until?
It was time for me to leave.
And what year was that? What year was that?
Well, it was in the late 90s, going up in the 2000s.
Okay.
But they asked me one question, they said, what do you
What's
want to
it?
do? Do you want to re-up? Re-up means you re-enlist.
Okay.
Re-enlist that you sign your name back on the dock and you say, well, I want to do 3 more years. I want to do 10 more years or something like that. You can only do 30 years in the military as a enlisted personnel. You go
Okay.
up from E1 to E9. And once you hit E9, then you go up to 1 officer, and you go up to 1 and 2 right there. But as a enlisted personnel, you can only go up so far. It's the E9.
Okay, the E9. And, okay, so you stayed all the way up until what? The E.
And well, you have to go by it's an each-step process. Once you become like a private E1, you become a private E2, then you become a specialist, like a private E3, then you have a specialist that
Okay.
you become.
That makes sense.
Then you become a sergeant. What they used to call it was a buck sergeant at that time. But, as I was going, things was changing. They don't use buck sergeant anymore. You can say a sergeant is like an E5. Then you go to E6, E7, E8, and E9.
Okay.
E9 is cut off for the person that's, listed personnel. He's not an officer or nothing like that. He's just, listed personnel. That's the highest
Enlisted
rank that you
personnel.
can go as a
Okay.
listed personnel.
That's what's up.
And then you move, once you move right, then you move to officer,
Okay.
officer rank. Then you
move
go
up.
like,
Okay. That's the next. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So, would you say that where's all the places that was you in the U.S. or was you in another country when you got your leg blown up, and then how did that process happen?
well, first what you do is once you go, like I said, like you go into the military,
Mm-hmm.
once you complete basic training,
Mm-hmm.
they used to ask you, where would you like to be stationed? What is your preference? Where would you like to be stationed? You got a choice. You can go to Korea, you can go to Europe,
Okay.
or you can be in the States. But most people say, well, I want to be in the States, but if they don't, they kind of put you where they need you,
Okay.
not where you actually, they might put you where you want to go, but then sometimes they might put you where they need you at. Because there might be a critical shortage of people.
Okay. That
And they
makes-
might need you, like saying if you're a truck driver, you work in food service and you got 4 or 5 people and you working the whole day. You working from morning to night. You're tired and burnt out.
Facts.
So what you do, they say, hey, we need some people here. And they put you where they need you at. Anybody become just because you're MOS doesn't really mean that. Actually, you were I can't recall the name, but you the first thing you know is artillery.
The first thing is artillery. We're doing the interview, by the way.
My bad,
What's going on?
Sorry.
What was that? Okay, so you did your first. You was working in the kitchen, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was you at this point?
Well, where everybody right there is an infantryman when you first go in.
Okay.
It's not that you have like just because you got an MOS